Hey everyone, Artebreeze here. This is Summoner Wars and welcome to Summoner Wars League Season 4. This is the deciding tiebreaker game between Massimo and Snalg. Snalg is the Vanguard and Massimo is the Breakers. I've got a handful of formatting problems coming up. Don't worry about that. That's just, the thing about the phone. It goes away in a moment here. Okay, so you would imagine that the Breakers would have the advantage over the Vanguards in this matchup. It's really crucial for Sera to protect herself from damage. The Breakers have more than one way of removing those units to protect Sera. I'm thinking things like push, hypnotize, mind control, blast. They have a very big toolkit for exposing Sera. And it's really crucial to prevent Sera from getting damage earlier in the game. The way Sera wins is by taking the game late and having lots of health so that she can shrug off damage while using her power, which will allow her to start pumping out more and more units. Quick thing about the setup here. I don't think Snalg played the Vanguards the way I would normally play the Vanguards, and I don't think Massimo played the Breakers the way I would normally play the Breakers. Here we've got Sera kind of hiding in her own zone. I tend to like advancing beneath the opponent's starting wall and using a big renewed hope to kind of establish position in the midfield. You'll see why, and you're seeing it now, because when Sera's in the midfield, you can't really hang back in your N and pick away at Sera with ranged units. With Sera in the midfield, she can actually attack and counter those ranged units who are squashed in their own zone. With the Breakers, I like to also advance with them. Tacullu's best tool is probably mind control. That's a big momentum shifter, and Tacullu can't really use mind control unless she is within the 2-space range. I don't really mind what Massimo's doing here. This is an interesting look for the Breakers, using the archer on the back wall to pick away. You saw an interesting thing that Snalg just did there, destroying Sera's own wall. I think that was because Sera's going to want to move up with a big renewed hope turn, as she does right here. However, clearly she's got some hand issues. She's probably got some hand clog, because you don't really want to put Colleen on the front line, just like you don't want to put a wall next to Sera like that. Really not ideal. Colleen's not going to be able to retaliate against that archer the following turn. Snalg probably knew that. That doesn't look to me like a bad play. That just looks like a bad hand more than anything. Everything I said about Sera is also true for Colleen. You want to protect Colleen from damage and being on the front lines whenever possible. Colleen is probably the one reason why I ever win a game as the Vanguards. It occurred to me as I was watching too that maybe archers would have helped Sera out a little more in this game. Obviously their power can really burn up your deck, but having some archers out there with Colleen backing them up would be very hard for Tacullu to use this strategy on. Instead, we saw a nice use of blast there, do some damage, and almost take Colleen out in one turn. I can guarantee you Massimo was thinking the same thing I was. If he can get rid of Colleen this turn, he can probably control the rest of the game. That is kind of how important Colleen is. And I think Snalg recognizes that too, of course. He's using his priest to desperately try and heal Colleen and keep her going. Now, in the quest to destroy Colleen, look at how close these guys are in their card counts. We've got the breakers with 9 cards, and we've got the vanguards with 8. And the number of units on the board is about even. I say this because this is the position that Sera wants to be in the late game. Get in there. If you can just finish the late game and Sera's got a chunk of health and you've got as many cards as your opponent, that's a game that Sera can win. And it's amazing to me that snalg finds himself in this position. You know, I think what happened there was Tacullu was not putting her best toolkit to use, instead kind of sitting back, using expensive ranged units and losing those trade-offs, particularly when all that aggro was put on Colleen. So even though Colleen didn't do what she normally likes to do, she ended up being a magnet for aggro. And here we are. Now all of a sudden, Sera's got more cards than the breakers do. And Sera's slowly closing in. I think that's incredible. You saw a use of mind control there to send the knight into direct damage territory. There was some nice direct damage that was applied that last turn. Here comes Sera, of course, with renewed hope. That's the second one. And sealing off those walls is great. I can already see a 2 for 2 on that Mind Witch would be absolutely huge. It would seal off all the summoning points. And ideally, I haven't seen Guardian Spirit come out. If you get a Guardian Spirit and you've got 3 summoning points sealed off this late in the game, that could be huge. Of course, Sera doesn't hit that, whiffs. And here's a really nice move. The Wind Mage pulls that Paladin into vulnerable position. Galdoon, of course, is, aside from mind control, probably an essential champ to summon. The best champ Tacullu has for sure. But even still, they're now at the bottom of their decks. And you see Sera has now come out to play. 10 health, not bad for the end of the game. If only Sera had saved that renewed hope and used it right on this turn. Instead, Sera's going to eat some archer aggro, and it's going to be a big hit here. Usually you can expect about 5 damage with 2 archer hits, not 8. That's basically the game's basically over at this point for Sera. All that health she was saving the whole game, she's now got to hide from. And that's too bad, but hey, it happens. I think it's fair to say that snalg did put himself in a situation to win this game. Looks like Massimo had all those archers kind of throughout the game, a nice supply, had some waiting at the bottom of his hand. And as you can see here, he's able to move that Guardian Knight out of the way and then put another 8 dice on Sera. So excellent use of those archers. Great game to watch, guys. This one ended up being closer than I thought it would, despite the matchup. Good game. Thanks for watching.